At 6 a.m. sharp, the kettle whistled in Margaret's kitchen. She moved with ease, her steps firm, her posture straight. At 92 years old, Margaret still lived alone, cooked her meals, and walked to the community garden every morning. To anyone who met her, she seemed like a medical marvel. But Margaret would tell you there was no miracle involved. There were just habits, consistent, thoughtful choices built over decades. The secret to staying independent and vibrant into your 90s wasn't some magic bullet, she'd often say. It was a life stitched together with intention, small decisions made daily, long before the first gray hair appeared. Margaret's story began like many others. She married at 22, had 2 children by 30, and worked as a librarian until she retired at 65. It was after retirement, when many slow down, that Margaret began her journey in reverse towards strength, health, and a new kind of freedom. She had seen too many friends fade quickly after retirement. They lost purpose, their health declined, and eventually, so did their independence. Margaret refused that path. She believed aging didn't mean surrender. It meant adaptation. And she had no intention of giving up the life she loved. Her first secret, movement every single day. Margaret didn't run marathons or join fitness boot camps. Instead, she developed a routine of gentle yoga, short walks, and garden work. In her 70s, she began Tai Chi in the park. In her 80s, she took up aqua aerobics. By her 90s, her bones were strong, her joints fluid, and her balance solid. Motion is lotion, she'd say with a grin, a phrase her physical therapist once told her. But movement alone wasn't enough. Her second secret was curiosity. Margaret read every day. Not just fiction, but studies on brain health, nutrition, psychology. She loved learning about the body, the mind, and how the two danced together. In her mid-70s, she even enrolled in a few online university courses. She believed that keeping the mind sharp meant constantly challenging it. She once said, "The brain isn't a candle that burns down. It's a muscle that strengthens with resistance." Margaret also nourished her body with the same care she gave her mind. Her third secret, conscious eating. Every morning, she had oatmeal with flax seeds, berries, and a touch of cinnamon. Lunch was usually a vegetable-packed soup or salad. Dinner something simple, grilled fish, steamed greens, brown rice. She limited sugar, avoided processed food, and drank plenty of water. But she wasn't extreme. On Sundays, she'd enjoy a slice of lemon cake at her church's social hour. One indulgence a week is a celebration, not sabotage, she liked to say. Perhaps even more vital than what she did eat was what she didn't keep inside. Which leads to her fourth secret, emotional hygiene. Over the years, Margaret lost her husband, her sister, and some close friends. She mourned, of course, but she never let grief stagnate. She journaled, talked openly about her pain, and even saw a therapist in her 70s when she felt particularly overwhelmed. "You can't be light on your feet if you're carrying unspoken sorrow," she often told her daughter. Margaret forgave easily, not because it was easy, but because resentment felt like poison in her bloodstream. She didn't gossip, didn't hold grudges, and always aimed to make peace, even when others wouldn't. Community was her fifth secret. As independent as she was, Margaret knew that true independence didn't mean isolation. She volunteered twice a week at the local library. She joined a women's choir. Every Wednesday, she hosted a book club for women of a certain age, as she put it. Connection, to her, wasn't a luxury. It was a form of medicine. Loneliness, she believed, was the slowest killer of all. So she fought it not just for herself, but for those around her. There was also something Margaret rarely talked about, but it showed in everything she did. Purpose. Every morning, she wrote down one thing she looked forward to. It could be something as simple as harvesting tomatoes or calling her grandson. Purpose didn't have to be grand, but it had to exist. It had to pull you forward. One day, her granddaughter Anna asked her what she feared most about aging. Margaret smiled. "Losing curiosity," she said without hesitation. "The body will change, slow down. That's natural. But the mind, the spirit, they only wither if you let them." Anna pressed further. "But aren't you scared of falling or forgetting things?" Margaret nodded. "Of course. I take precautions. I've removed rugs, installed rails, labeled my supplements clearly. But fear doesn't run my life. Preparation does." And that was her final secret, respecting reality without succumbing to it. She didn't pretend she was 40. She didn't push her body to exhaustion. But she refused to be defined by her age. Every morning she looked in the mirror and said, "Today, I am capable of more than I was yesterday, even if it's just one small thing." That mindset, rooted in possibility rather than decline, was her true power. On her 90th birthday, surrounded by family and neighbors, someone asked her to give advice to the younger generation. Margaret stood, holding a small glass of lemonade, and said, "Don't wait until you're old to think about being old. Everything you do today is a vote for the kind of life you'll have tomorrow. If you want to dance at 90, then move at 60. If you want to stay sharp at 95, feed your brain at 70. Start now, and never ever stop learning, moving, or loving." The room fell silent, then a long applause. Margaret didn't share those words for praise. She shared them because she knew the truth. Longevity alone wasn't the goal. It was the quality of those years, the ability to choose, to engage, to remain fully alive. That was the real prize. And it wasn't out of reach. Not for her. Not for anyone willing to build it one choice at a time. Now, at 92, Margaret still climbs the 3 steps into her porch without assistance. She still grows sunflowers taller than herself. She still sends birthday cards by hand, reads 2 books a week, and writes letters to her great-grandchildren. Her life isn't extraordinary because of one big decision. It's extraordinary because of thousands of tiny ones. And in those choices lies the quiet, powerful secret. Staying independent and vibrant into your 90s isn't a mystery. It's a habit, a mindset, a legacy waiting to be written.